What's up, fishes? What's up? They're all wondering why I'm home early. I am home early. Work finished early today. We have awesome summer hours where I work. How kick-ass is that? So on Fridays, as long as you got all your stuff done, you got nothing crazy going on, you can take off early. So today I definitely left early. Took off at 1 o'clock. Why? Because today, bass season is finally open. Finally! We've been waiting how long for bass season to be open. So no more screwing around. Time to get down to business and catch us some real fish. Okay, sorry, anybody who likes shad and pike and stuff like that, fine, whatever. Those are all real fish too. They can play too. But obviously I love catching bass. So today we're going to go bass fishing. I'm super excited about it. Unfortunately, the trolling motor on my boat is scrap. They're working on it. Well, it's not scrap, but it's being repaired. It's at the shop. They're trying to figure out what's going on. So no boat. We're going to go shore fishing, and we're going to go shore fishing 2 minutes from my house. We're going to go park the truck, we'll grab some gear, and we'll go give it a shot. So I'm going to show you guys how to river fish in heavy current, how to river fish for bass, assuming we catch bass. All right, so let's do it. So yeah, let's go get some stuff out of the garage and get the party started, okay? Let's do it. All right, here we go. Weapons of choice. We're going to go with a weighted worm rig, I don't know, that's got, what's that got? We got a bait ball on there with a clip so we can easily change stuff, and a finesse rig with a weighted 1/8 ounce wacky rig. This should be everything we need. So let's go, we'll bring this, and of course, grab Mr. Tackle Bag, and we'll get out of here. Let's go catch bass! Alright, so we are at the first stop. It's literally 4 blocks from my house. So we're gonna get out. Now here's the problem, is the weather conditions are not great. It's looking like it's gonna rain. It was pouring this morning and I checked the radar and it's showing more systems coming in. So we're gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna bring the big camera. We'll leave the big camera in the truck, put on the GoPro, and we'll see how it goes, all right? Let's see. This is usually one of the most productive spots in the, early summer. So we'll give this a shot first. If this doesn't pan out, we have a ton of other places we can check out. It's 2:11 right now, so I've got a few hours to give it a shot. 5:11, by 5 o'clock, the party's over. So let's see if we can find some fish, all right? Let's do it. Urban fishing, so much fun. There's a lot of wind today, so the mic is definitely gonna get tested now. All right, let's see how high the water is. Ooh, it's borderline. So, if you guys check out my video page, you'll see an upload that I made that shows the flooding. Well, the flooding used to be up to these rocks here. Imagine. So it was about here. So all of this was underwater. So that's how far down this flooding has gone. Now normally in the summer I can walk out and I can walk around the trees here, but not today. So we're gonna cast around here. It's full of rocks, all kinds of boulders in there. So let's give it a shot. So look, I've already got the bait ball tied on. Let's throw that around, see what happens. Generally what I prefer to throw here is a black and blue. This thing is a mess. Black and blue chatterbait is usually my bait of preference. That's pretty sexy. We'll give this a shot, see how it looks. All right, let's slow it down. Seeing as I can't walk the shore because the water's too high, let's slow it down. We'll throw on we'll try the wacky rig. Some good old bubble gum. Bubble gum! That doesn't work, we'll throw on something dark. So let me explain a little bit about how to fish bass from a river shoreline, because it can be challenging if you're not familiar with river systems. Because if you just fish lakes and ponds and things like that, you have no idea what it's like to get out here and watch your bait get swept away by crazy current the second it touches the water. It can be really frustrating. And you can spend a lot of time just fighting it and trying to figure out how to do it. And really, the easiest thing I can tell you is you need to learn how to use the current to your advantage. So you need to establish which way the current is going, and then use the current to move your bait. So think of it less as how do I retrieve the bait in terms of throwing it and putting it in the right spot, as opposed to throwing it ahead of where you want it and letting the current push it to where you want it to be. The fish stage up and they position themselves so that they're facing the current. So they're looking for anything that the current is pushing past them. So what you want to do is you want to kind of work an area where, like this for example, you know, to my left is upstream and to the right is downstream. So I'm going to shoot upstream in a way that it brings it back slowly but surely. So my job is to keep this thing from getting jammed. So when it starts ticking bottom, I'll pop it up and keep it off the bottom, just so I don't get hooked up in the rocks. But I let the current actually move the bait around. And that's what's really important. And that applies for pretty much any depth. It doesn't matter if you're fishing 2 feet, 3 feet, 20 feet in a boat or on the shore. It's all the same concept. So let me give you an example of what I mean by using the current to place yourself. So you see we have a big tree here. Now if I wanted to throw under that tree, I won't be in the strike zone very far. So if I just try and, you know, skip it under there or flip it under there, it's going to hit, but before it anywhere gets near the bottom, it's already, the current's just going to push it out. And that's what I mean by it can get really frustrating. So what you got to do is you got to cast it out here in a way that it brings it back, travels this entire area, and eventually crosses through underneath the tree. So you can see here the way the current is. Remember, you can't, but the current is moving this way, but it's also bringing everything to shore. So as the current is moving, it's also pushing it towards shore. So when I cast out, it's going to diagonally come in at a 45-degree angle downriver, but also towards the shore. So basically, if I were to cast out just in front of me, maybe just a little bit off to the side in front of me, you know, down there, and I just leave it and slowly bring in the slack, and as I tick the rocks, I'll give it a little twitch, I will eventually end up right underneath the tree. So that's how you need to use the current. So it's the same thing when you're out on the river. When you're out on the river and you find, whoa, okay, that was, I don't know if that was a rock, but that was cool. So when you're out on the river, it's the same principle. When you find fish on your sonar, or you find a point that's loaded with fish, you need to move a little bit downriver to the point. And what you got to do is cast, or get alongside it, cast upriver from the point, and let the current push it over the point, through the point. And that is how you catch the smallmouth. So you could, this concept applies to using tubes, it applies to worms, to, you know, weightless, whatever you want to do, you need to use the current. And sometimes it takes practice. So for example, if you're using tubes and you're fishing in 20 feet of water and you've got the current at you, you might cast out towards the boat. So let's say you've got something, if you've got some fish in front of you, you're going to cast past the fish and let it slowly come towards you. You might notice you're never hitting bottom. Okay, so you know you need to increase the weight on your tube jig, or the other way around. You could be getting hung up constantly. Your tube is constantly hitting bottom and you're losing tube jigs like crazy. You need to, obviously you need to lighten your weight up. So learning how to fish the current is critical, and obviously the only way you'll learn that is time on the water. And for me, you know, learning to fish the St. Lawrence has been a big challenge for me. I've been doing it for the last few years, but I am learning. Try and find other fishermen that fish these areas. They'll show you. They'll show you how it works. So as I mentioned, very often what will happen is the fish will set up on structure, they'll set up on, you know, rocks and things at the bottom, and then they will face the current. So they're just going to sit there and they are going to ambush anything that the current happens to throw down. So that's why it's so critical to just let the current move your bait for you. And you know what? The same can apply to crankbaits, using crankbaits. There's a fish. There we go. There's our first customer. Oh, there goes my Senko. There we go. We got our first smallie. That is a great fish to start us off. Boom. There you go, guys. Holy jeez. Sorry, bud. Chill. Chill. All right. There we go. There, our first smallie, guys. Check that out. Huh? So there you go. First customer of the day. This guy's been caught before. So that's it. That's all there is to it. So again, I'm just doing what I was preaching. See you, buddy. All I was doing there, I just cast it out. I brought in the slack as the current moved the bait closer towards me and downriver, and then all you feel, it's like the sensation of somebody just tapping your rod. It's like somebody doing this with a pencil on your rod. You just feel a little tap. Give it a little bit of pressure, see if there's anything on there, because if it's just a tap from a rock, you go to lift your rod, you'll have no resistance. So if you feel the tap, you pull, and you still have resistance, you might have yourself a fish. Give it a set, and away you go. So let's go get another Senko on here and see if we can catch us another one. By the way, this is the weighted wacky rig I'm using. This particular one comes from Mystery Tackle Box / Carl's Bait, whatever it is. But you can get these pretty much anywhere. You can get them at Cabela's. You can get them everywhere. And they are fantastic because they don't drop them down super fast, but they do help get them down there with the current. If you didn't have the weight, the current would just carry it over. It'd be, it'll carry it over 40 feet before it ever gets anywhere near the bottom. Okay, where were we? So talking about crankbaits. So crankbaits are the same thing. Crankbaits can be really, really frustrating to use in current. So the way you use the crankbaits also depends on how you're, the water temps, what you're looking for, what you're fishing. But the basic principle is you want to cast 90 degrees to the current. So you don't want to cast obviously completely upstream because you won't get any action when you're reeling it in unless you're doing it at 100 miles an hour, which is probably too quick. And you don't want to cast it downstream either because you're going to have tremendous pressure. You're going to have tremendous pressure on the line just from that heavy current smacking the bejesus out of it. So what you want to do is you want to cast at a 90 degree angle. So you want to cast across the current and then slowly bring it in as it moves downwards. So if you want to get it closer to us, for example, well then you want to cast out, off to the side a little bit, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, and it'll slowly move this way. If you want to be further down that way, well then you really try and cast it 90 degrees, but maybe just a little bit more that way, and bring it in slowly. Another great technique that is phenomenal is with jerk baits. So with jerk baits, a great little trick is you cast it out like I just did here, give it a couple of twitches to get it towards the bottom at the depth, at the operating depth that you want it at, and then just let it sit. And that thing is just going to travel along in the current, float along in the current, give it a, good 10, even 10 seconds, 5-10 seconds. And if you get nothing, give it a little twitch and then just let it keep floating. And I guarantee you, if there's fish there, they are going to hammer that jerk bait just as it floats by. It's a great technique that really you can't do on ponds or on lakes with no current. And I mean, it works great. I've actually done this where I'm parked near boulders and stuff in the boat, and I'll just cast ahead of it and I'll give it a couple of twitches, get it down to depth at 5-6 feet, and then I just let that thing pass over. Just float on by those boulders, and then when it gets into that strike zone, that's it, it's over. I don't have to do anything. The current does all the work for me. All right, so see right there I got thumped, but I just lifted my rod tip a little bit and there's nothing there. So that's just rocks. I'll give it a little twitch, get it off the bottom, pop it up a little bit, maybe get somebody's attention. The other thing too is when you're fishing a river system, don't assume where the fish are. I mean, there are obviously logical things to look for, but you would be surprised how you'll be walking along the edge, spying some, there's rocks or something down in there, weed line, and you'll be casting to it, you'll be walking along the edge, and all of a sudden you'll scare a 4-pound smallmouth right off the shore. It's crazy how close they can get in. So always methodically work your area. Approach your spot, but don't just jump right in, kind of like what we did, or what I did. Cast to it first, see if there's anything in there, and then work it. I would love to be able to use a frog. It's still too cold for a frog right now, but when I'm chasing the frog bite, I will approach a shoreline, but I'll cast right at the edge of the shoreline first before I go and stand there, just in case. In fact, I caught a huge bowfin that way a couple years ago. It scared the you-know-what out of me. Especially seeing as I didn't even know bowfin had existed until that point. Ooh, that was a good one. I got a feeling that that's a good spot right there. Oh, what was that? That was definitely not a rock. Another trick you can do is if you want to get line further down, you can always open up your spool and just let line feed out to get further downstream. That's another thing you can do. I've done that before for topwater. So if I'm running like a sexy dog or something like that, I'll let that actually float downstream and then I'll walk it upstream. So just to get a bit more distance, a bit more coverage, I'll just let the water carry it down. So let's talk about rod choices. You know, what do you want to be fishing with? You want to fish with something that is definitely fast or extra fast. You want to fish with braid. You need super sensitivity. I like to be able to feel the bottom, feel it bouncing off of, you know, the tips of weeds, rocks, wood. I can tell if I'm on sand or if I'm on gravel. It's really important to use a sensitive rod. Now, I know there's a lot of stock in rod's length, but I don't really go crazy for anything too ridiculous just because I don't have room to store them. Like when I travel in the truck, I've got a short bed on the truck, so I can't put big fishing rods in there. So about the longest I will go is a 7'3". This is an Akuma rod, and this is a 7 foot. Ooh, what was that? So this is a 7 foot, but like I said, I don't do too crazy. As long as it's in the 7 foot range, 7'2". Those are generally most of my rods. You know, drop shot, jerkbait rods, things like that. They're a little bit shorter. I try and go as long as I can on my frog rods, but for me, it's having a fast tip. This is a medium heavy or a medium. This should be a medium if I remember correctly. But sensitivity is important. You certainly don't want to be doing this with mono on there and an ugly stick, because you won't be able to feel anything. Because like I said, it's important to keep the bait ticking off the bottom when working current like this. If you're too high up in the water column and the fish are at the bottom, you know, finding quieter spots down by rocks and stuff out of the current, they won't see your bait. Or in this case, the water's really cold. If you don't put them in front of their face, they're not going to chase it. So you definitely want this ticking and bouncing off rocks. Same thing when I use a chatterbait. I'll make sure the chatterbait is bouncing off of rocks. If I'm not hitting rocks and I'm bringing it in, you know, bouncing off the boulders, I'll increase the weight for that chatterbait. I'll get a heavier chatterbait. True story, actually. The first chatterbait I ever got was through Mystery Tackle Box, and I was so happy to have it and give it a try because I'd never tried one before, so I was really excited. This is the first place I ever brought it. I cast it out on my first cast. I got stuck on some boulders out there somewhere. It wouldn't come out. So I took my wallet, my phone and everything, put it over here on the shoreline, and I walked out in my jeans and my t-shirt and my shoes because there's glass and stuff, and I went and got my chatterbait back. I ended up having water up to my chest, and you know what, it was absolutely worth it. Because I got that chatterbait back, continued to fish with it, just retrieved it a bit faster, and I think I caught about 8 fish that day, so it was worth it. I've also climbed trees. I've climbed trees to get baits back. In fact, one of them, the tree was like 2 trees together forming a V, and I got pinched in between the trees and I couldn't really get out, and I was like, do I call the fire department? What do I do? So I just kind of took a break and relaxed for a minute, and then I was able to crawl out of there. But yeah, have you guys done anything crazy to get your baits back? If you have, comment below and tell me your hilarious bait retrieval stories. I would love to hear them because those are pretty funny. I've seen some pretty spectacular rescues in person as well, and it's always pretty hilarious. So please share your stories if you can, or if you want. Yeah, the wind is kicking up pretty high. Like I can't even cast very far, which is A little bit brutal. Oh yeah, here comes the rain. Great. Whoa, that was a big gust of wind. All right, I think we're gonna get out of here because it's getting very windy, and I think it's gonna start raining any second now. But we'll go to another spot that has a little bit of shelter to it. We'll see how that does. All right, so Mother Nature is not exactly cooperating. It's very windy, and of course, we're on the side of the river where the wind is blowing against, so it's making casting a little challenging. So we caught a smallmouth in that one spot. I was hoping for a lot better than that. So we're gonna go to another spot now that is, it's got more shelter to it. So we'll see if it starts raining. I'll bring my raincoat this time, but yeah, we're gonna go to another spot. It's got a little bit of shelter. It's an inlet. So this is interesting because you're not throwing directly into the current because it's like a little tiny bay, a little cut that you can throw into where it's quite calm. We'll see. Sometimes there's fish in there, sometimes there isn't. We'll go give it a shot and see if there's anything in there. All right, let's go to stop number 2. All right, guys. I don't know if you can see this, but see that big green blob? That's about to hit us. We're right here, that blue dot, and you can see we're about to get hammered. So I don't know what this is going to do. I'm going to put on my raincoat. We'll go down there, and if the rain starts getting too bad, I'll put the raincoat on over the camera because I don't have a waterproof case on right now. Or I suppose I could put the waterproof case on and have crappy audio. Maybe we'll just go with that. Let's go give it a shot with crappy audio, shall we? Hopefully it turns out there's some fish in there. Here we go. Oh geez, almost died. Oh crap, that's slippery. Okay, so you can see the current is just rushing by, but then it stops here. And then we have a little cut that can be fished. Now during the summer, you can actually climb onto that rock, no problem. But during this time, there's fish hiding in there. So one of the cool things to do here is just to cast into this rushing water and just let it flow out here. And fish will stay in the calm area and ambush whatever's floating by. So let's see if anybody's home. Oh, that's a rock. Like I said, when you feel the tap, and then just give it a little bit of, just pull on a little bit, and you don't feel something pulling back on it. And there's fish. Look at that, right there. Whoa, that was cool. He was right at that rock. Whoa, that was cool. Wow, I was just about to retrieve him out. I would take my line out of the water, and he hammered it. That was cool. Remember I said there's a hole right in front of that rock? Well, that's where he was parked. Look at that. That was cool. Thanks, buddy. All right, see ya, have fun. Now, let's see, I can get my Senko back. It's right here. There we go. Got the Senko back. Okay, that was cool. So he was right there. You can see the rock just sitting right in front of me. Right there. He was just on the other side of it. Absolutely spanked me. That was cool. He hit it so hard, they actually jammed his head against the rock. Something else about current that you want to be aware of when you're working current is it always looks more violent and faster moving on the surface than it actually is under the water. So when you see the current moving real quick, don't think you need to load on the weight because it's moving just as quickly underneath. It's not. I don't know if it's an illusion or what the science is behind it, but it's always faster moving on the top, or appears to be, than it really actually is in the water. So bear that in mind when you're fishing. When you're going into current, you're like, okay, this current is ridiculous. I need like a 4-ounce weight on here for me to get anywhere near the bottom. Oftentimes it's not the case. Oh yeah, there's something there. Okay, here we go. So now what I like to do is back here, I'll just fan cast right to the edge. So you probably can't see it with the GoPro, but I'm casting right on the edge of the current break. If there's any fish ambushing, they'll be right in there. So I'm going to fan cast the edge of the current break and see if there's anything in there. Oh. There's a fish. Oh, what do we got here? That is a super tiny micro pike. That was hilarious. He got away. Well, I just let him go, but that was a pike. Hey, look, you can do a Ned rig. That was a pike about 8 inches long. There he is. Oh, what do we got here? Oh, hello. Whoa, okay, where are you going? Get over here. Boom. Oh, alright, see ya. That was a smallie. I just realized my camera's all screwed up. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. It was a smallie. Oh, there's another one jumping out over there somewhere. There's another fish. Oh, there's a better one. There's a better fish. There we go. That is a much better fish. Get him. Oh my God. Seriously, guys, I don't know what's the deal with me. I can't boat flip fish anymore. There. Whew. Okay, seriously, I don't know what that was all about. I'm sorry about that. That is a better fish. There we go. Much better fish. So I did the same thing. I just caught him in the break. I threw out to the current break, and there he was. We'll get a picture of this guy. So guys, despite the complete epic disaster of me attempting to flip that fish in, I'm not sure what happened there. But again, we just did the exact same thing, guys. I'm literally just throwing it into the current break, and I'm letting it float around, and the fish are picking it up and just killing it. The key is just letting it float in front of their face. Okay, so again, we're going to work outwards towards the current. Now there isn't a break like we saw here. It's just the water gets slacker and slacker. There's a fish. Oh, what do we got here? It is a, oh, look at this. We got a little walleye, guys. There you go. Look at that. There. There you go, guys. A little walleye. Boy, how's it going? All right, see you, dude. So, guys, you saw, caught that the exact same way that we've caught almost every single fish. I'm casting it out into the current break and just letting it sit. Hey guys, okay, so my GoPro just died. Actually the card's full, but check this out. Just as it died and after I caught that walleye, I hooked this baby. Yeah, like nice colors on him. He's got like some cool spots. And again, I keep repeating myself, but it was the same thing. I just threw it out, and as soon as I noticed the line stopped and it's got taut, set the hook, and that was on there. So we'll see if we'll catch a couple more. I'm gonna get going soon, but this is just using current to your advantage. It's amazing. It's really, really awesome. All right, so we'll throw this guy back, and we'll see if we can catch one more. Hey guys, all right, I just let that fish go, and I did 2 casts. Boom, another one. This is sick. I'm sorry I'm not getting this on the GoPro. My camera's, the card's full. But man, I'm telling you, and it's the same thing every time. Just casting out into the drift, into the current break, letting it drift, and bang, they're just hammering it. There's another one. Second cast after that last one. This is crazy, guys. So anyways, I hope you've gotten my point on how to fish these river systems. The smallies here are just awesome. Let's go get some more. Okay, so I just broke off on a fish. I caught 2 more fish after the last one. They were smaller, and I got bit really hard. I set the hook like I was trying to rip its face off and snapped off. So I think the knot just the area got all frayed up, and I didn't change it, just like I didn't change the memory card on the GoPro. So I'm super happy. We're finally catching fish. See, we're doing something I know how to do. We catch them. That's how it works. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let's so far, and let's make our way back to the truck, and we'll do one little final note, and that'll be it for today. All right, I gotta get out of here anyway, so I kind of broke off on time. It was like last cast, and I broke off on a fish. It's a pretty good note to leave on. All right, let's get back to the truck. Oh, geez, this is gonna be so much fun to cross. Guys, that was awesome. Oh, it was so good to finally go bass fishing and catch some bass. Whew, I actually ran out of time because, to be honest, we could have just kept walking that shoreline and probably found more. But, you know, it just goes to show that when you know how to work the water properly, when you use the current as your ally, oh, the fishing is fantastic, and it's like effortless. And you don't need to be complicated. I mean, I literally took a wacky rig hook and shoved a crawfish on it and just threw it around, and it did the job. Like, it's really not that complicated. If the fish are there and you put it in front of them, they're gonna hammer it. So I'm looking forward to the next episode. I'm looking forward to getting out again. I'm gonna try and get out this weekend, and I'm gonna bring the waiter so I can do more water. But I hope this helped out for anybody that's, you know, just starting to river fish, or they're going somewhere where they're going to fish a river and they've never done it before. I hope you find this helpful. It's very basic. But of course, as we continue to river fish, when I get the boat out, we'll talk about more specifics, especially in the fall, going for big smallies. We're going to talk about how to work those areas and what to look for. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do a little dance, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys at the next episode, all right? Take it easy, guys. Be good.